Can government-issued digital currencies solve the financial inclusion issues? Please welcome our panelists. Moderated by Nicholas Stojanov, Meta Change Capital, with Stephen Mead, Big Bamboo LLC, Brendan McKittrick, Aeroband, and Saeed Hareb Al-Darmaki, Shisha Finance.
Let's see if the mic is on. Yes, apologies for the little delay. We had some technical issues, but they're now taken care of. So thanks of all for everybody who actually has joined us today to talk about this incredibly interesting and important topic about the battle of being decentralization versus cryptocurrencies or currencies and tokens that are non-sovereign currencies and CBDCs. I unfortunately do not see Saeed, but I am incredibly happy to welcome my former panelists, so please feel free to quickly introduce yourself, and then we'll get into the topic quickly.
Yeah, I was looking for Saeed. I didn't see him when I was running down either. Stephen Mead, lifelong entrepreneur. I joke that I've never had a job. I'm technically unhirable, and I didn't know why for many years. It's just because I'm wired as an entrepreneur. Started 11 companies. I'm in a unique position. I've had 3 that were actually public in the United States, OTC, 3 public micro-cap companies, which are small cap, and moved forward, started a company in 96, took it public in 99, first master merchant in the world for credit card processing, similar to what went on to become PayPal. Done enterprise software, Homeland Security. Current project, Moneta Pro, is a closed-loop platform for B2B settlement, and we built a proprietary internal digital currency. It's not a blockchain or a token, it's a unique digital settlement for cross-border B2B transactions.
Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Dmitry Buslov, and I'm CTO of QChain company. We are building a new blockchain for business. It's a blockchain with fast transactions, up to 1 million transactions per second. And we provide it as instrument for build some businesses. Because we typically we have 2 sides of money problem. First side is cryptocurrency, totally decentralized, totally uncontrolled in basic, on technological level, uncontrolled. On another side, it's government issued currencies, but new currencies that provides by government is clone of typical money, I think. But in the middle between these 2 sides, we have corporate sector with new currencies or new blockchains that can operate with taking both sides of decentralized and totally controlled money. Because we need one moment, it's legality. When company work in legal field, it's more responsibility to customers.
Thank you very much. Brendan.
Salam alaikum. My name is Brendan McKittrick, and with my co-founder here, David Galeas Samut, we founded Aeroband. And one of the motivations for Aeroband, I was working as the CTO of one of the world's largest technology companies for aviation. And I saw a huge opportunity for peer-to-peer economy for the aviation industry. So that's what we've set out to do with Aeroband.
Thank you very much. I would like to kick this off very straightforward, actually. I remember that, or my idea also is that when Bitcoin was launched, the idea was to create a financial system which would be decentralized, where the players inside that system would be able to transact with each other whenever they want, wherever they want, and with whomever they want. when we're looking at the status quo right now, what are your thoughts on that matter when we're focusing on non-sovereign currencies and CBDCs that are moving into place right now and are trying to disrupt this basic idea that Satoshi had back in the days?
Bitcoin to me is never going to be a full-on currency or disruptive payment system. It's a great store of value. I think it'll go up. The central bank digital...
No financial advice, right?
No, and we all have our own opinions, and don't always look at me. The joke is people go, "Oh, Stephen, do you regret not buying Bitcoin earlier?" And Alex Lightman, who's here, Mike Kostash, a bunch of us were introduced to it in 2010, 2011. I bought 1,000 Bitcoin when it was $3, so I don't regret buying it early, but I regret selling it at $5.50. You know, so I don't regret not buying it, but the sell part always got me in retrospect. To me, they're distinctively different. The central bank digital currencies are really, if I wire transfer money, it still goes through the legacy architecture, SWIFT, FedWire, ACH. Even though it's digital money, it still moves through legacy architecture. Digital settlement or digital dollars, again, I'm referencing Alex, he's got a talk around digital dollars. I think digital dollars are a much easier settlement item, whether I'm sending you dollars directly or whether I have fiat in my Wells Fargo account, I convert down to a Wells Fargo digital token, send it to JP Morgan, it converts to a JP Morgan stable token, and you up-convert it to fiat. Digital settlement for banks is much more efficient. That's the payment side. The nefarious side, if everything goes digital, banks have complete control over you, your location, your spending habits. You know, if they're giving you free healthcare and don't want you to buy Diet Coke, they can shut it off. So there's some challenging aspects to central digital, but in terms of payment, digital payments and digital dollars are infinitely more efficient. I just don't think they compete with Bitcoin.
Brendan, don't you think that, you know, like for the small added value, it is an incredibly high price to pay when CBDCs do actually have the opportunity to sanction a person's or a business's transactions and to monitor them?
Is that for me?
Yes.
Okay. I think there's definitely a battleground. I think in terms of Bitcoin, just to set the sort of scenario, for me it's the Pandora's box. Bitcoin is out of the bag and can never be put back in again. No matter what they do, it's in the field. It can't be reversed. And I think there's a lot of panic reaction from central banks. Going digital was accelerated by the success of crypto. And just to be crystal clear, a CBDC is not a cryptocurrency. It's a very centralized digital currency. It's, on one hand, it's a great endorsement for the digital economy. On the other hand, it's an attempt to pull back the control to the sovereign coins away from the drift towards crypto. You know what I mean? Who would have expected, you know, a crypto coin to hit the $1 trillion cap mark, bigger than any bank in the world this year? I mean, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we wouldn't have predicted it. So I think there's a need for a digital structure in the banking system, because the banking system, frankly, is broken. You see a lot of retail banks closing their physical offices because they haven't been able to react quick enough. But I think on the flip side, it gives a massive amount of control to a central bank, because if you're in a central bank wallet, they have full control to switch on and off that wallet. And I think that's the downside that we have to be very cautious.
I would like to follow this up with one more question on the topic. I mean, you have been in IT forever, and you have controlled technological companies for a while. What about legacy systems that are being used by each different company that now have to implement actually with new systems in order to make it work, which pretty much creates one of the biggest hindrances around?
Yeah, well, you can see by my gray hairs, I'm old enough to remember the birth of the internet. But as the man says, I'm young enough to remember it. But I saw the movement from mainframes to client server. I saw the birth of the browsers back in the day. I actually walked into secondary school and we had a mainframe donated from Aer Lingus. So I've seen all the legacy history. The legacy history, you have to be cognizant of it. You can't move a mountain in a day. So you do have to work with the history and the legacy that's there. So it's going to be a migratory process for sure.
Okay. So in this case, the question for you is, when we're looking at corporate non-sovereign currencies that are pretty much in the middle of it, and we're looking at what they have chosen when it comes to baseline protocols like Ripple or any other Casper Labs or whatever else, in comparison to decentralized infrastructures like Eternity, Tezos, and other blockchains, why choose a centralized system over a decentralized system when they have proven to be quite robust today?
When we're building some new system, in this case, I talk a few words about ecosystems on cryptocurrencies that working on these monies. We need to put together a few parts. First part is some community that work in this idea, is this field. Now it's a cryptocurrency field. We need some legality, because totally decentralized, totally uncontrolled systems, not all people are ready to work with it. You need high abilities in technical and logical level, and you can have very a special brain for working in a totally uncontrolled world. More people like to have a little bit of control and a little bit of legality, a little bit of truth for work with the system. And last part, it's technological part. It's a mechanism that provide all of these abilities to final customers. When we put together all three parts, and especially if we connecting community and legality with technological block that working that provides this connection by technology, then we have a stable long working system with and if we add one more thing, it's a multi-level marketing. It's not about pyramids, it's about different rules on each level. And when we put this one more thing into the system, we provide money to all people, and it really works. I think we can build systems based on these rules, and it's be stable, long time systems.
Okay, thank you very much. Stephen, I would like to drill down a little bit more on that topic which we discussed earlier. Do you think that in the base idea of decentralization, looking now at CBDCs, don't you think that there is a huge problem with the opportunity of sanction and taxation of individual transactions? Like for me, this sounds incredibly horrible that I would not be able to go out and buy a Diet Coke because somebody has decided that Diet Coke's not good.
The trade-off is always control versus freedom.
Exactly.
You know, if you're doing bank transactions, if you're doing B2B, you know, if you have, we just had a cyber attack in Barcelona and lost a considerable amount of money because of some decentralized wallets that had no control points. So the trade-off of things that are, and I don't like the term centralized any more than I don't like blockchain. People say, are you a blockchain company? I say, are you an internet company because you have a website? You know, but there's benefits to having structure, there's benefits to having legitimacy, there's benefits to having onboarding, especially if you're in the business side. If you're retail and consumer, I'm all for decentralized transparency. If I want to send money to a friend of mine, it's fine. But when you start talking about multi-million-dollar transactions, there's some benefit to control points. There's benefit to centralization. There's benefits to legality. But with that comes some of the constraints. But you also have that in the banking system.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Brendan?
Well, I think, as I mentioned in the opening, there's a battlefield, and I think the battlefield is going to be between Chinese digital currency and the fate of the US dollar. We had a previous speaker here, and he showed the scam coin, and he showed how the scam coin graph, you know, panned out and how it shot up in terms of issuance. And he said, by the way, this is actually the graph for the US dollar. So it was very shocking.
I've seen that graph.
We bought into it, you know. So look, China is 20% of the gross domestic product of the world, and yet only 2% of the currency traded is Chinese, the renminbi. But the reality is most of the, you know, the factory of the world is China, and most of the trading is done in dollar. Now, if they introduce a digital wallet to every trader who trades in and out of China, that moves that 75% of all of their trading into their own digital currency. And that's a big change. That's a big change. So I think this is huge. This is absolutely huge. And I think the central bank digital currencies, if they're imposed in each sovereign state, and that's the big advantage they have because they own that space, what's the role of the bank? Is my wallet directly with the central bank, or is it with my local bank? Can I move my money now out of my digital wallet from the central bank into crypto? Or will that be closed, or will that be over-regulated, or what? You know, there's a lot of questions to be answered here, and they're fairly fundamental to the future of finance.
I would agree with this, but leading this to an end, when we look at the status quo of today, when you look at decentralization towards the CBDCs and the centralizational part, where do you think this is going? Are they here to stay? Are we going to have a more decentralized aspect mixed with non-sovereign governmental coins? Are we going to go into the CBDC part? What's going to happen in the next 12 months? I would go. Do you want to go first in this case? Go ahead.
The lines start getting blurry. The difference between centralized and decentralized is decentral just runs more autonomously without a bunch of employees and overhead. You know, so you'll end up with decentralized platforms that hopefully have rule sets in them. To me, that just means it's moving more towards autonomous. If banks can save money and it's no longer centralized, but it's decentralized, meaning the rule sets are there, the smart contracts, the autonomy is there, and they can run the whole thing without people, they'll do it. You're just setting controls on a decentralized platform. I don't know that it's always going to be completely open. You can run platforms with different rule sets. The central side of banks, the banks are going to try and do it initially for efficiency of moving money. The control part, I think, is nefarious and conspiratorial, and I like that, but I think the control point for money, moving money more efficiently, is what they're going to look at with central digitals.
That raises a very, very quick new question, which is, do we then need actual other banks, or is the central bank going to be enough to do all those transactions with individuals and companies?
Depends on which currency. With atomic swaps, you can have a Wells Fargo token running on Ripple that sends to JP Morgan and switches to a JP Morgan token on Stellar. They're both equal $1. They're running on different blockchains, and they atomic swap through the network. There's not going to be one winner. There could be multiple winners, but the parallel of blockchain lets you swap across networks and currencies where things just, there's efficiencies that are going to come into market that we don't fully understand yet that I think are exciting for the fintech area.
But that is the exciting part, so thank you very much for your answer. Please.
I think we need to increase interconnection with all three parts. We need a quick exchange between cryptocurrency, local business currencies or tokens or corporate currencies, and government issued money. Because we have different people with different ideas, methods, and with different businesses, and all three needs in different parts. We need to increase speed, increase bandwidth. We need to simplify all of these parts.
Okay.
For me, Nicola, I think the two fundamental tenets of community are trust, or of civilization, are trust and community. And I believe the future is decentralized because it brings that. And we know how broken government can be. We know how broken banking, et cetera, can be. So I think the future, to agree with Stephen, it'll be a melange of different forms of financial instruments. It'll be decentralized and digital at the same time, digital centralized. But what I believe is the assets and the actual tokens that will endure are those which have intrinsic value. So if you're in an industry, there'll be a gravitation towards a single form of value transfer in each of the industries. But I think you have to have, so from the CBDC point of view, they have the sovereign card, so they have GDP behind them, so it's always a very strong anchor. But also the rise of crypto as a means of settlement in the decentralized economy means they are absolutely necessary.
I also believe that the basic blocks of tomorrow are being built today, so I'm incredibly thankful that we had the opportunity to share our thoughts about the topic. I thank very much my panelists, and I wish everybody a successful day and a bright future, as they say. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Nicola.